Hi everyone, it's James here from Pro Tools Expert, back with the second part of my mixing drums tutorial with my favourite Waves signature plugins. This is what we got to last time. We've got our kick, snare and toms sounding pretty beefy. Let's have a listen to those. Okay, reasonably happy with that. It's all sounding great so far. So what I'm going to do is just set up a quick loop there. And we're going to start by looking at the hi-hat. Let's play it back on its own. Now, because this is already a kind of a preset mix, or nearly a mix, the hi-hat doesn't have to be that loud because obviously there's a lot of spill from other things. But I'm going to turn this up a little bit so we can start to shape the hi-hat and get rid of some of that spill from other things. So you guessed it, the first thing I want to do is jump on Q1. There's a lot of kick and snare in there. Just helps get rid of a lot of that bottom, a lot of the mud. The hi-hat's got to be, for me, it's got to be fairly cutting. It's got to bite. I don't like soft, slushy hi-hats. I want it to have some stick to it. So the next thing I'm going to add to it is a bit of the JJP, Jack Joseph Puig signature plugin, set to hi-hat, and take a listen to how this sounds. Rolling out a load of the lows down there. I don't need it. Very little compression. And if I drop it back into the mix, that's nice. Now add some reverb to that. Can you hear how the reverb is just making the hi-hat excite our virtual room? We're getting to a little bit of ambience. The open hi-hat sound is just really exciting the room a little bit more than just the closed sound. Now, I quite like my open kind of slushy hi-hat sound to be slightly more prominent and slightly louder than the main kind of tick of the hi-hat sound. If you don't, what you could do is whack a de-esser on there, and the de-esser will just clamp down that kind of sh sound a little bit more. But I like it. I'm going to go with it. Right, so let's dive into the ride cymbal now. Let's mark that one out as well. Let's give ourselves some loop. And it's kind of business as usual here as well. I'm going to turn it up a bit. I'm not going to have it that loud in the mix. Q1 again. To lose a lot of the other instruments that are getting through. And the JJP cymbals plugin on overheads. Just to bring out some bite and give it a bit more edge. Without it, you lose all that lovely ride cymbal. Maybe a little bit of verb. But it's quite washy without it. We really don't need it. So again, all I'm doing is getting rid of that low end mud, the stuff we don't need. Cymbals don't have low end, or they don't have usable low end. It sounds awful if you start boosting 100, 200 hertz. It sounds nasty. So I'm using the JJP cymbals plugin for my ride cymbal. Okay, moving on to the overheads, the cymbals this time. And yes, you guessed it, I'm going to use an EQ Q3 this time to sculpt out some of that bottom end, some of that low end mud. And I'm also going to roll off some of the top end. What? I hear you scream? You're taking out top end. Don't you want those cymbals to shimmer? Yes, I do, but I don't need all that top end getting in the way. I mean, I'm rolling off about 14 and a bit K. That's pretty high anyway, but I just don't want that extra stuff getting in the way. You can make cymbals sound a lot more mellow and a lot more explosive without that top end. Let's hear how they sound one at a time. Just getting rid of that bottom end. Sounds so much better. And the other plugin I'm using is the Kramer HLSEQ, just to shape things a little bit, make it sound a bit sweeter, just to control everything and just brighten everything up. So yes, again, I'm taking it out, but I'm putting it back in a controlled fashion. And let's hear that in the mix. Let's bring the ride down a little bit. Now you can experiment at this time by spreading out your overheads far left and far right. Again, that's really a track by track decision. Sometimes the overheads spread really far, sound great and work. Sometimes you want it a bit closer up, a little bit more mono. That China push really cuts through nicely now. Okay, so in the previous video, I mentioned my special source mic, my special compression mic. This is the one for me that adds character to my overall drum sound. Let's have a listen back to it on its own. So what is it and where is it? So what I'm using for this mic is a standard Shure SM58 above the kick drum, about a foot above the kick drum, about 6 to 8 inches in front of the second tom, the second rack tom, and it's pointing directly downwards. So it's kind of pointing at the kick drum. And all it's doing is just picking up a reasonable mix of the whole kit. Mainly the drums, obviously, and a little bit of cymbals, bit of ride. But now I'm going to absolutely smash it. So the first thing we do is add some compression. And depending on how you like to work this, you can have a really long release so your compression sound is a bit brutal. You can hear the kick drum is triggering it. Yeah, I'll go with that. And the real killer here is the JJP guitar plugin set to rock, and I'm actually going to distort it. I'm going to put some distortion, some overdrive, some grunt on it, and then I'm going to blend that channel in to get me my kind of my grit, my just a bit of nastiness into the drum sounds. I'll bring it down, unleash the plugin, and bring it in slowly. Actually, here it is on its own first. Now the guitar plugin. Boosting up all the lows. I want the kick drum to push through. I'm compressing the hell out of it anyway, so now let's put that into the mix. Mute it. The drum sound is good without it, but I love it when I put it back in. On its own. If I don't want it to trigger the kick drum quite so much, it'll be so additive to the kick drum, I can bring that down. But I quite like that. And even though I'm not adding any room ambience from the JJP guitar plugin, which is set to rock, we like that, it's adding quite a lot of extra reverb, so I'm not going to add extra reverb in on the track. So let's have a listen to it back again. That's on the ride section. Let's have a listen to the hat section. See, it's too much if I add reverb in there. So if this was a rock track or a real driving track, that would sound absolutely awesome. The last thing I do to my drum mix, now imagine this master fader is actually my drum submix. What I might be tempted to do is put a bit of Kramer tape in there just to glue it all together. You could use any bus compressor you like. I happen to like this one. It sounds really, really nice. I'm not doing anything too dramatic, and you can see obviously my voice is triggering it as well. But if I take it out of bypass, as we play through the track, you can hear exactly what it's doing to glue the drums together. And if I take out the compression mic, you can really hear how much difference that's making to the tone. And there you go, my take on mixing drums. I hope you enjoyed that. Check out some more of those Waves Signature plugins. They are absolutely amazing, really simple to use, and make your drums sound epic. I've been James, and I'll see you again soon for another tutorial.